It's Nancy here at Black Sheep Knitting in downtown, beautiful Needham, Massachusetts. I'm here today to show you a couple of things. I wanted first to show you what I'm working on. Some of you may have seen this on Instagram, but this is a pattern and it's called Colette Poncho, and it's made in a new yarn to the shop. It's called Fulu. And it is a baby alpaca and I think extra fine merino and a little bit of polyamide. And it's this wonderful poncho that is amazingly simple to make and looks just luscious to wear. I'll show you my progress thus far. And it's just simple ribbing at the bottom, and you knit, just do stockinette front and back. And then you pick up stitches along this edge and do a ribbing, and you get 2 buttons to put here to close it, and then you pick up stitches around the neck and knit the neck. And some of you may say, ugh, I don't like anything around my neck. That's fine, you don't have to knit it that high. You can just do a simple ribbing right around here and be done with it. Those of you who like something a little cozier, you can finish it up to here. You guys often ask what I'm wearing, so today I am wearing a capelet called Lace Capelet, and it's made in Lang Mohair Luxe palettes, and this is the yarn. We have it in a few colors. It's got these beautiful little sequins in it, so it's a nice thing if you want to wear to dress up something. You've got a black dress and you're going out, you can throw this on, and it's just a single strand of this, and it's not at all itchy. So that's what I have on. And then I thought I would show you, Robin mentioned in our last posting about picking up stitches on to make a border, to make a ribbing. So I thought I would show you some examples of how to do it. Now, very often you will be asked to pick up, if you're picking up along a ribbing on a sweater, the ribbing on a sweater, you might be asked to pick up 3 and skip 1, or pick up 4 and skip 1. The reason you would do that is so that your ribbing is not gathered or scrunched. You also don't want it too tight. The nice thing about picking up stitches is that you can get them all picked up and then look at it very carefully. If it doesn't seem quite right to you, pull it out and start again. And I'll show you, you may end up with a little gap where you've skipped one of those stitches, but it doesn't show once you start knitting. So I'm going to show you first how to pick up on a stockinette edge. So here I am with my needle, and this is the top edge. So this is the edge, the piece was knit this way, and this is the side, and I'm going to pick up on the side of this. And what I want to do is peel this back so I really truly have the top of this, and I'm going to go in from the front to the back through the 2 strands of the stitch. Don't go through just one, because you end up with a little bit of a hole, and it's not a very secure, doesn't end up being very secure. So I'm going to take my yarn and I'm just going to loop it over, holding on tight. Leave yourself a good amount of tail there, and I'm going to pull it through very carefully. I think I've shown this before, but it's not a bad idea to repeat it. So if my pattern said to pick up 3 out of 4 stitches, so I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, so I've got 3, and then I'm going to skip the next one, which would have been this, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 again, and then I'm going to skip 1, and so I'm going to skip that one and go into this one, and I do 1, 2, 3. So then what you want to do, and this is always smart for everything you do, look at what you've done to make sure it's correct. Don't get all the way down a long row of stitches not having looked at what you've just done, because it's important to see if it works. So I have taken from the top these 2 stitches right here, which gives me this beautiful even right along this column of stockinette stitches. So you can see you're not going to have any gaps, and here's where I skipped a stitch and I skipped a stitch here. You're not going to see that when you eventually knit your ribbing. Okay, so then you might have, maybe you've got some bound off stitches and you're adding a collar or something, and it tells you to pick up for every stitch. So remember, this one we were looking at rows of stitches. Here we're looking at individual stitches. So if you think of these are rows this way, you're going to pick up very often, if you're doing it this way on the vertical, you're going to pick up 1 for every row. And the reason for that is that in terms of picking up an even amount of stitches, if you've ever noticed your row gauge and your, I did that incorrectly, your row gauge and your stitch gauge are different. Your row gauge has more stitches. So, and this one just doesn't want to do this. So, I'm going to try it there. So your row gauge has more stitches. Therefore, if you want to pick up evenly, you're going to pick up fewer stitches when it's rows than you would if it's individual stitches going across here, because you're doing stitch for stitch, and this is, you know, a regular gauge, a stitch gauge, and this is a row gauge. So here you would pick up probably fewer stitches, and here you would pick up stitch for stitch or row for row going this way. So you would just go across here and do pick up for each individual stitch that you have here or row. I hope that makes sense. So just remember, you have more rows here per inch than you have stitches per inch this way. So that's why your pattern will probably tell you to pick up 3 stitches or 4 stitches and then skip 1 so that it doesn't curl. So next week I'll demonstrate how to pick up on garter, which is a little bit different. I want to remind you of a few upcoming things. First of all, our classes are beginning to meet again in the shop. We're social distancing, wearing masks, of course, and people have to be vaccinated. There are a few openings. We have kept our classes. We've notified people who were in classes before when the shop closed, and they, of course, will sign up again. And when we hear from them, once we've heard from all of them, if we have openings, we'll announce this. But I do know of a few openings at the moment that you might be interested in. We have a class that meets on Monday mornings, and they meet either outside across our common, or they meet on Zoom. And so this is good for people who are still being very cautious about being in groups of people. That class meets, I believe, at 10:30. Not sure of the time, but if you call the shop, we can let you know. So if you want to register for that class, if you're interested, you must call the shop, and please call us during our business hours, 1 to 5, Tuesday through Saturday. We have trouble with our answering getting back to people. We have so many messages from people. If you want to be sure to get a space, please call us during those hours, and we'll sign you up then. There are also some spaces in Thursday afternoon class that we have, which is from 4:30 to 6:30 on Thursdays. So there are a few spaces in that. And then there is an evening class, and I think there might still be meeting on Zoom or meeting outside. I'm not sure they've come inside yet, but you can call us and ask about that. I think that's 6:30 to 8:30. And one other is Monday evenings from 7 to 9. So you can ask us about that. Standing here in front of a wonderful yarn called Shepherd's Wool. And this, I'm showing you this because we're going to be starting very soon an Afghan project, which this is an appropriate yarn for it. It's a Afghan that is a series of squares and ends up looking a little bit like a quilt. So we have that to look forward to. And then our big news again is the yarn crawl. We, of course, skipped the yarn crawl last year, so we're back ready to go, and it starts on September 30th and goes through, that's a Thursday, and goes through Sunday. So gear up for that, get some friends, make a plan, go out to lunch, go, to as many shops as you can. We have prizes and all kinds of goodies, so we'll see you then, I hope. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Have a great week of knitting, and let's hope the rain today, this is Thursday, let's hope we don't get too much rain. Enjoy. Bye-bye.